Okay, thank you for your patience, everyone. I'm going to call our meeting back to order. We have a delegation from Lower Thames Valley Conservation Authority on our agenda at this point. Mark Peacock from the Lower Thames Valley Authority is in attendance, and he will be providing with his assistant an overview of their draft watershed-based management strategy. So welcome. I push my button, it'll go off, and then you can push yours, it'll go red, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor Voot, members of council. We apologize for being late. We did get a wonderful tour of your beautiful municipality this morning. And the work is looking good at your office. So today I want to talk a little bit about the plan going forward for the Conservation Authority. But all 5 of the conservation authorities that are part of our municipality will be going through this process. It's really important for the Conservation Authority because this will form our guidance going forward to see if we're on the right track. So the important thing here, next slide, please, is that we understand where we're going with this plan. We want it to be actionable. We want it to be at a higher strategic level. We want it to answer the questions that we should be answering too. And we want our key stakeholders to be involved and to agree with where we're going. And we as a municipality, one of our 10 municipalities, are a key stakeholder. So that's why it's important. Next slide. So this plan, what we've chosen to do is add 2 things together. Taken a strategic plan and taken a resource management plan and put it together in one thing. A strategic plan is very much a strategic plan about staff and about organization. This plan, which includes both, how we as an organization operate and what we do. So it's both those things. Next slide, please. There's a whole bunch of things that have come at us in the last 2 or 3 years, just as municipalities have had a very different assignment from the province. We've had a very different assignment from the province. And so this plan is a requirement. It has to be completed by the end of the year. It's one of 5 different things we've had to accomplish this year. To meet requirements of new regulations, Regulation 686/24, which is our mandatory services regulation. Those regulations still do. And there's a whole list of things on the board. That presentation there is some of those things. So it's natural hazards, it's our lands, drinking water source protection, and a whole bunch of monitoring programs that is prescribed by the government. Next slide. A little while back, you'll remember that all 5 authorities signed an agreement with the municipality that basically says we move forward with the programs that were provided the community in the past. That includes things like providing for our education program at the Longlands Road, Scottyville Village, those types of things as well. The Middlesex Center has signed an agreement, and therefore all of those other programs are part of this this plan going forward. Next slide. So what's in the plan? The foundational statements. There is what needs to be done in us listening to people, and then a response from us of how we go forward in the next 5 years. Next slide. Our vision is for a balanced and healthy watershed. We have a lot of farm community, we have a lot of businesses in the watershed. We understand that we have to balance what we as a conservation authority ask for and what the community needs to be healthy, what it needs to be successful, what it needs to be economically sound. So that is very important in our vision. Next slide. We also have a mission statement that is around the point that we have to lead by example. That's the best way of getting things done. We lead by example, we work with the community. That's our mission statement. Next slide. Our values: respect, integrity, commitment, objectivity, and for us is collaboration. About 200 and some odd projects a year with the community, with farmers and other people. If we don't collaborate, we will get most of what we want to get done. So that's important. Next slide. What we do is we listen to the public. and to other municipalities and to staff of municipalities. And we figured out that there's five buckets of areas of focus that we can bundle all of the work of the Conservation Authority in. And those areas are healthy and climate resilient watersheds. 2, supporting sustainable growth. 3, connecting people to nature. And then organizational ones around the strategic planning element of partner of choice and organizational excellence. Next slide. So how do the work of the authority fit into these 5 buckets? So what we're going to do is on the slide under healthy and climate resistant watersheds. That's all the stewardship work. All the work we do with the community. It's the planning, agricultural programs, and species, those types of things. We support sustainable and natural hazards. Sure that people that are good aren't going to lose their home because of flooding, erosion, and those types of things. And that includes our flood forecasting, all those types of work. Connecting people to nature is exactly that. It's getting people to our conservation, education programs, and those types of work. And then the other 2 things are organization. Choice in everything, and we want to strive for excellence as an organization as well. Next slide. So we use a number of things. We do have a watershed plan. It's called the Shared Waters Approach. It was approved by working with First Nations that have interest in the Thames River. It's one of the first watershed plans that includes First Nations traditional knowledge in the plan. It's a really important step forward for both us and the Upper Thames. Strategic plans, and we also want to listen to the community. Next slide. Strategic objectives. In other words, what are the objectives we're going to measure specifically? And then we'll talk about measurables as we move forward and evaluate what we're doing and what we want to do over the year. And there's 17 of these in both the resource management areas and within the other areas. Next slide. So, if you read the plan, I believe if you have copies of it, there is input that we've received from people, and input response that the staff and also the board has looked at on how we respond to what the community and our partners have asked. Next slide. Out of that comes initiatives, and this is where I'm going to spend a bit more time because I want to talk about what we are committed to do in the next little while. Next slide. Take a step back. Because the province has asked us to do a number of things, and because they've refocused us, the initiatives that you will see here is the planning to effectively do that work. To shift kind of the emphasis of the authority in some ways, but also make sure we check off the things that really required to do by regulation now. So what you'll see is different planning initiatives come up through these initiatives, and they're trying to get us in a position to be able to respond to the requirements of the province. So the way that this, for each focus area, the 5 focus areas, there are initiatives, both in existing programs that we're trying to achieve, and in new programs that we need to implement. So under the healthy resilient watersheds, with our stewardship programs, the water festival, the County Water Festival, we also support the Water Festival in Middlesex, Oregon, and the Water Festival. Support partner groups with our species at risk. We have our programs, the potential surface water and groundwater program, which we're in the province now to do. Conservation areas, and you can see in the chart that it shows how these measured, objective, strategically. Next slide. So what we need to do going forward? First, we focus on climate action plans. We've written chunks of the action plans, we've got to get that ourselves. We've got to get that in order. One of the things that there's a monitoring to write intense monitoring plan so that we do that effectively. Do programs at the conservation authorities. We think of it as we sit on a stool with legs, and that is the stool of effectiveness. And the 4 legs are these. It has to be efficient. It has to be cost effective. It has to provide quality. It has to deal with risk. It has to, it has to have impact. That's the 4th one. It has to have impact. But they're balanced so that you can't have new programs that cost a huge amount of money but don't provide the impact. Quality. So whenever we do evaluation, guarantee you this, that when we're talking about these new programs, we will balance it in such a way that we have the biggest bang for the buck and we do it effectively. So other things, this was a request of one of our municipal members to support municipalities in invasive species programs. We've done that in the past, but it has not been, it's been an ad hoc thing. To new phosphorus management program with massive funding from the provincial, from the federal government. So $4 million next year. Receive money to provide to farmers to reduce phosphorus in the Thames River watershed. So that is a huge program that we're moving forward with. Purpose area number 2. Next slide. The existing programs. This is our natural hazards. So one of the big things in our hazards program is our program. We are forever trying to provide service to people as we can. So we have a customer service standing, which is significantly tighter than the one given to us by the province. So we are forever striving to provide services like within a week type of return period on a permit. Those types of services to our community. That's an important one. Our flood contingency plan, our drought or low water response plan, we provide creek and safety training to students, flood forecasting, and hazards that we plan around. So that's what we currently do. Next slide. What we're looking at doing, there is a requirement for us to do more floodplain mapping. We want to do that strategically. So we're looking at developing a flood mapping risk assessment plan. We already talked about the monitoring. We have an ice management plan that is required by the province to be written by the end of this year, and we're doing that. We are continuing working with municipalities on development policies. We're implementing our watershed plan. This is another plan, the flood control structures operational plan. We do have individual operations plans for our dams and stuff. The province is required that we put it in the plan by the end of the year. So that is another thing that we are doing. And then the climate action plan again. Next slide. So the area connecting people to nature, this is, we do connect, feel like the best way of connecting people to nature is probably through our stewardship programs, because we've got people working on farms and working on their properties and really part of it, skinning the game for the community. So that's important. Support a number of municipalities with natural heritage studies as part of the requirements under the plan. We cannot review natural heritage elements of plan applications. That has been prohibited under regulation for the Conservation Authority from the province. But we still do provide a lot of support to municipalities around natural heritage. Education programs and our active use of campgrounds that we have. Next slide. So new initiatives. Strategy is another major document required by the province. We have to write it by the end of this year, and it's just about completed. And that will be completed. Have just finished building Indigenous Learning Center at our Scandal Village. If you haven't seen it, come on out and take a look at it. It's a wonderful facility now. And strategic plan. So we move forward with that facility properly. So we're looking at the municipality child care on the CM Wilson Learning Center for the strategic plan. Heritage study that the province actually, believe it or not, is going to fund the Conservation Authority. Next slide. So how are we partners of choice? Existing programs, the customer services initiative is really important. We have awards programs that we provide awards to the community members that do great work in our watershed. Always a problem because have an X number of awards and we have so many people that could get them. We do continuous financial reporting. If you look at minutes of every 6 times a year, we look at the full financial report of the standing of the Conservation Authority every 2 months. We provide that to municipalities. And the initiatives is an Indigenous training program for our staff and updated outreach and communication strategy. Next slide, sorry. That was, even though it says existing programs, those are the new ones. Next slide. And we get to the last bucket. So this is organizational excellence. So under organizational excellence, our old strategic plan had a number of things that we've achieved. Things like staff meetings to bring. One of the problems is we go all the way from London all the way down to Lake St. Clair, and we have staff all over the place. We get people together so they actually know. And there are people I get to meet a month after they are employed by us because they're working out in the field and stuff like that. And really important that as an organization we pull our staff together and we meet, and that is something that we do. Foster an environment of learning, strengthening our staff's ability. One of the challenges we lost 1/3 of our staff because of our pay scales. And that's pretty well the reason why. Striving to change that so we can keep staff. We are a good training ground for other municipal organizations. Internal communications, and we are working on assets and initiatives. There will be a salary review. Next slide. There will be a salary review. The board has taken action to bring salaries across the board, but position that we can move into a salary review. Asset management plan that is required once again by the end of the year. Just about completed that. And then we're updating our hiring policies and making sure that we're up to date with diversity, equity, inclusiveness, and justice initiatives. Next slide. I know I covered in the short period of time. Thank you very much for your attention. It's really important stuff for the Conservation Authority as we realign, as we look forward for the next 5 years, and as we want to position ourselves to work to of your community. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much as well. There's a lot of content there and a lot of good work happening. I'll look to council to ask specific questions. Let's start with Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. How many staff do you have and under the organization and salary reviews and hiring practices? Do you look at hiring more people or exactly what's going on there?
Staff right now, staff with this new funding from the province, which is a 4-year commitment of, I believe it's $13 over the next 4 years. One staff to meet requirements of the province. So at this point, we had to resources engineer, no, water resources engineer, but there's not enough for me to go around. So we are having to replace that position. But other than finding from the federal government, there are no positions, and we don't see that we will be laying anybody off.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. So you mentioned part of it just now. My question, I was going to ask you when going through the list of things, and one of them that popped out at me was the invasive species program. I've had some people asking me about that recently. So just with all of your things, and yes, you're mandated to do this and this and this. And I'm just wondering about the funds for all of that. Does that affect us? or you mentioned your 13 million. Is that what you're growing on? That's my question. Thank you.
So this program is fully funded through grants, so we don't have any municipal money. There is some municipal money in stewardship, but it's in the tune of 20% of, or between 10 and 20% of what we spend on that program. So these unmandatory programs are almost fully self-funded. There's very little municipal money. I think out of the whole 1.5 million in municipal levy, over 100,000 goes to non-mandatory programs. So it's important though, because it's the seed money that we use to go out and get grants. So we always have to have some sort of matching thing in there when we get grants. But in the whole, the non-mandatory programs are almost fully funded through grants, through donations, through fees.
My question is on, you also measure public support for your conservation authority, right? So do they all. Can you comment on that first? I think it's significant. People often turn to conservation authorities when they want to block development. But maybe you can talk about that first.
I can give you an example. One example is we had the 50th anniversary of the Scandal Village. We figured there'd be 150 people show up. So we had one of the First Nations groups provide 150 bowls of canned soup. People showed up to the 50th anniversary, and the people there. So how much support we have. There are people that request our support to block things. That's challenging. It is challenging because we are committed to growth in our communities. We're not against growth. We just want good growth in our communities. Our Facebook page, our Twitter, all these types of things are continuing to grow quite significantly. And we have, I think one of the measurements is pretty well all our services are maxed out. Everything like funding, and we can only now, I'm part of the watershed, we were going to extend it throughout, but we did 10,000 acres of cover crops. We had people waiting that couldn't get funded. So I think the measurement of success is whether or not people want our services, and I think that we've been able to achieve that in the way that our services are provided.
So following question is what I see and everybody else will see is the province is constantly curtailing the powers of conservation authorities and also diminishing your funding, which means it'll come to us as a municipality. We're the last place you come to. We'll have to pay. So you have to work with that. I guess this is more of a comment because you have to be careful politically as to how you comment on that. If you want to make any comments, fine. If you want to pass, fine. But that's my take on it.
Chair, I will comment on that. The province has for many years, for 15 years now, provided us very little funding. We've got $150,000 a year for many years. Yeah, about 150. We're now at 75,000 a year in base funding. Budget of $8.5 million. So they have done the worst they can do to us financially, and we've come through it. And that is because of partners. That is because of the support from municipalities. That's really important for us. And that's why it's important that if you feel we're not doing a good job, you tell us, because we rely on your support. From a levy perspective, over the last 7 years, I believe we've raised our levy about 25%. We're the lowest raise of levy of any Southwestern Ontario Conservation Authority. That are 6 times the amount of levy raise in that same period of time. We're careful not to raise our levies. We're facing the same types of challenges we're facing because of funding from the province, and we'll continue to make sure our pencils sharp when we do our budgets.
Okay, thank you.
I'll look to a member at the Conservation Authority to wrap it up.
Through your Madam Mayor to Mark and Valerie, I thank you for your presentation. And I know at the last meeting, you're doing some studies on the Thames River and you're looking for access points. So I thought maybe this is a good forum for you to put a plug in for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. We are surveying the bed of the river, so we're doing sonar work so we can run different models down the river. And it's always a challenge, particularly from basically Communications Road in Chatham up to Melbourne Road. That whole area, there's not a lot of access, and we rely on farmers that have places we can get into the river. And we're always looking at trying to get partners to help us into the river. And also gives us a place to leave the boat. Our crews can leave and not have to pull the boat fully out of the water. While they're doing the work, but that's that program.
I think that's everyone on council. I just wanted to add my thanks too. And I should mention, the councillor invited me to come to the recognition event that you had in Ridgetown last year. And you just noted that attendance is good at things and people like to come from all over. There were people who attended that had driven distances to come. And it was great to have a chance to meet people who are involved in different ways with the authority. I also just want to say that when I look at your plan, it makes me feel great because you're thinking integratively, you're looking at options, you're working with what you've got and seeing how you can leverage also. Congratulations on all your work, and I appreciate your coming today. Sorry for the tour, but yeah. So thank you, Mark, Valerie, appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I think we've done everything on the agenda that we can do in public. We do have an enclosed session, so I'll wait till we do the transition and then we'll resume our meeting. Sorry, yes, I do have to ask for a vote to move into close. That's the first. I'll read it out. Okay. Yeah, there is, I have to say why we're doing this. I know this. Okay, so the motion is that council through the municipality of Middlesex Centre adjourn to closed session at 10:26 pursuant to section 232(9) at 239(2) of the Municipal Act as amended to discuss the following matters. Under section 239(2)K, a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board 2001, section 25 239(2), and this is with respect to development matters in word 4. And I had Councillor Burrs and Councillor Cates raise their hand. All in favor of that? And we stand adjourned to closed.